Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for being here today, ma'am, and thank you for everything you're doing at the border. Last week I did a long dialogue with DPS, with the director, and I think people forget what you're doing at the border, and I know that it's immense and that there's a lot of people involved. I think the first question I have is, how were you involved and how did you affect the outcomes in Del Rio?
Well, in Del Rio, we had about 9 up-armored Humvees there and probably about 30 soldiers. We were asked to surge more. Again, it took us a couple of days. We brought some from Weslaco, and then we also actually flatbedded some down from San Antonio area. And again, DPS was much quicker. I think they passed our Humvees on the road, as a matter of fact, in their convoy.
They're always speeding,
I think they're okay to do that. And then once as we were arriving, they were integrating us into their formation. Where they stopped the flow, that was definitely almost pure DPS vehicles. And where they positioned us was on the east side of the bridge in order to keep people from the bridge they would go across the river and come back. And then our line was integrated with some DPS vehicles, but mostly our Humvees were all the way to the river. So as they were going to the river to go across, they would come back and not go up into town.
And I think a lot of people didn't see the pictures on the east side. I think it was. They saw them was it the west side where all the DPS vehicles. Mm-hmm. We flew overhead. There was a lot of Humvees parked there doing the same thing that DPS was doing on the other side. So as we flew in, I saw all the way along the border a whole bunch of the wall that was built, that 20 to 25 foot wall. We hear the governor talking about doing the wall. We've heard previous administrations talk about doing the wall. Is that the wall that National Guard folks are putting up? What are they doing down there?
No, sir, we are not involved with the wall right now. It's that temporary barrier that volunteer landowners are looking to put on their property to protect. There's a bunch of property owners that are upset down there because migrants are coming across, they're looking in their windows, things like that. So where DPS goes and speaks with them, and if they volunteer, then we go with DPS, with one of our facilities people, do a land agreement with them, and then we go and we work with them on putting that temporary barrier up to, again, deter the flow to another place. And then for them, it also gives at least some level of protection for people just being able to come across their property.
And what is the temporary barrier? I've heard that term used several times. What exactly is it?
Well, when you say a fence, people start thinking permanent. So we say temporary barrier, plus that's kind of a doctrinal term for the military. It is a chain link fence. And the reason that we recommended a chain link fence, because you can see through it, because there is oversight on watching the fences as an obstacle. It's about 9 feet tall. They put razor wire on top of that, which makes it probably about 10. And then there's even razor wire put in the middle up to a point where some of the property owners didn't want it near roads and things like that because of a hazard. So, but that's what it is. We do know that it is stopping some traffic flow in those areas where it's been placed, but we do know also that there have been places that have been clipped through the wire. And in my opinion, I'm not law enforcement, but probably people that are cutting through the wire have more deliberate of getting through there, and probably are not the good people, or even are more into other type of things of smuggling and stuff than just the illegal immigrants that are coming across right now.
Right. So I want to, for the purpose of some of the members that may not know, I want to have you kind of tell us very briefly the difference between Title 10 and Title 32 money, and how that works. Who governs, who oversees Title 10, Title 32 money? So
Title 10 funds are the active component in the Army Reserve, or it'd be the Air Force and the Air Reserve. So right now, they are a guardsman on Title 10 status. They're federally funded, and their command and control is through the federal government on the border in a Title 10 status, supporting Border Patrol. They're on that mission from a request for assistance from DHS to DOD, and it is a very strict request for assistance. They're very limited on what they can do. Title 32, we were actually on the border in Title 32, the Texas Guard in 2019, and that is federally funded, but under the command and control of the governor. And there's a little bit more leeway on Title 32 than on Title 10.
The reason I ask that is with the amount of deployments that you have, because I want to look at the long-term viability of doing this, do you think that there could be recruiting or specifically retention issues in a year or 2 years? And the reason I ask that is, are there things we can do? And I'll give you examples. I know when you're on Title 10, there's federal protections for work. I'm not convinced Title 32 has those same protections if they're brought up so that they can go back to work in the same position, get the same pay raises and promotions that everyone got. So kind of several prongs, but do you foresee any potential issues?
So I think Title 32 does have some strong reemployment rights, but for Texas Guardsmen, we're on the border of state active duty, so we're not even Title 32. The strengths of the state active duty is that they still get a basic allowance for housing. Some of the lower enlisted specialists and below actually get paid more than when they're on Title 32 based on our pay scale, and they also are given per diem. The things that they don't get are things like credit towards the 9/11 GI Bill. They don't get credit towards retirement for their National Guard retirement on state active duty. But what we are doing is that we are taking all the incentives we have, everything that we can make an incentive, and we have a list. And some of those things are like they were going to get extra promotion points for this deployment. They will go to the front of the line for tuition assistance if that's what they're requesting. We also do things like if they want to go to airborne school or some of the special schools, we'll put them at the front of the list, especially if eventually they go into that type of unit. Let's see, I had a whole list here. So we're creating incentives for the state active duty with the things that we can control. And there's actually a pretty good list.
Are there things that we need to do? And the reason I'm asking that is, so if they're on state active duty, do they have those same protections when they go back to work? If you call them up and send them, do they have those same protections for coming back to work? Do you know?
So this last session, there was some new measures that were passed on that part, and I'll have to get exactly the details, because it did give the soldier the ability to, I think, go to civil court if there were things with their employers. Now, that's one thing that we watch very carefully, though, and again, making sure everyone understands the mission and why we're having to do this, because it's important for employers and families. Those are what keep a soldier or an airman in the Guard, our families and employers. And so we're very sensitive to that. But I go back again, and I'll answer your retention question, that soldiers are seeing what's going on the border. So people, we have a lot of volunteers, but people are coming. Even though we're telling them we need 56 Brigade, we need you to give us 900 people. Well, and I'm asking about morale, and those things are like, we don't have a morale problem for this right now, because they understand the immense importance of protecting Texans and the properties in Texas. Retention, that's always important. I would tell you at any time in a year, we probably lose about 1,500 that don't re-enlist. They've done their contract. But then every year, we're also got about 3,000 that are in the training pipeline that are coming in to do their service. The people that we really are working on retaining and trying to get retention bonuses on the federal level are like our sergeants, sergeant first class, and staff sergeants, because that's middle management. And those are the soldiers that take care of the soldiers. And when they're done with their contract right now on the federal side, there's no retention bonus for them. So we've actually been talking to National Guard Bureau because with the new retirement, how they've done it, the 501k blended retirement, you're going to see a lot more middle management leaving because the incentives aren't there. And we think that's nationwide.
So I'll close with this. If you have or you foresee serious issues with that, please bring it to us early, because I would hate to see it where we have to keep filling the gap at the border with DPS and National Guard, and then we start bleeding, losing troopers and losing National Guard members because of something we might have been able to head off. So I would ask you to respectfully, please consider coming to us if you see that potentially becoming an issue, or if there's anything we can do in regards to employers, in regards to people being able to go back to their work in the same position that they were.
Okay, so I absolutely will, and I absolutely appreciate that. Thank you.
And there's no doubt that I know you guys are doing. The reason I didn't ask very much about what you're doing is you guys are very competent, and we trust you. I'm just worried about those other ancillary things. So thank you very much, ma'am.
Yes, sir.